The collapse of the American dream. For years, Florida was the symbol of American success. Sun, beaches, luxury, and condos that promised guaranteed profits. But that dream is crumbling before our eyes. The state's real estate market is collapsing, and many experts say it's worse than the 2008 crisis. Today, you'll learn about the top 10 Florida condo markets that are collapsing right now, and understand how each of them became part of a crisis that could change the fate of the entire country. In 10th place, Sarasota, the luxury that nobody wants anymore. Sarasota, known for its modern condos and millionaire retirees, is living a nightmare. Luxury buildings are becoming empty, real estate agents are without buyers, and banks are already preparing new auctions. The average price of condos has fallen 35% in just 1 year. What was once status is now despair. But how did this happen? Imagine, you worked your whole life, saved money, and bought your dream apartment in Sarasota. Ocean view, impeccable finish, rooftop pool. It was the perfect paradise to enjoy retirement. But now, that same apartment you paid millions for is worth well under half the price. And worse, even wanting to sell, no one is interested. This is the cruel reality that thousands of owners are facing in this Florida city. The streets that were once bustling with tourists and new residents now seem deserted. Those chic restaurants that were always packed, they have empty tables. The designer stores, closing their doors one after the other. And you know what's even scarier? This didn't happen overnight. It was a devastating domino effect. First, property taxes skyrocketed. Then, hurricane insurance became so expensive that many people simply couldn't afford it anymore. Add that to sky-high interest rates and you have the perfect recipe for chaos. Real estate agents who used to sell apartments like hotcakes now go months without closing a single deal. Many have already changed professions. The banks? They are taking over properties that nobody wants to buy, even with huge discounts. It's as if the American dream has turned into a collective nightmare. The saddest thing is seeing retirees who invested all their savings trapped in properties they can't sell. They wanted security and peace of mind, but found only debt and frustration. Some are even considering simply abandoning their apartments and leaving, even if it means losing everything. But wait, if Sarasota with all its fame and infrastructure is in this situation, what happened to the 9th city on our list? The story there is even more shocking, involving something no one imagined could destroy an entire city. You won't believe it when you find out. 9th place, Cape Coral, the construction collapse. Cape Coral became a builder's paradise during the pandemic, but with rising interest rates and the end of incentives, the market froze. Hundreds of new apartments are sitting idle, and the unsold inventory is the largest since 2008. Investors are fleeing, and the buildings are empty. This Florida city, once known for its navigable canals and tranquil waterfront life, has transformed into a giant construction site in recent years. When the pandemic began, everyone wanted to escape the crowded, bustling big cities. Cape Coral seemed perfect: spacious homes, pleasant weather, and plenty of outdoor space. Builders saw this golden opportunity and began erecting buildings and condominiums as if there were no tomorrow. For a while, it worked perfectly. Properties were sold even before they were finished. Families arrived from all over the United States seeking a better and safer life. Prices skyrocketed, and those who invested early made a lot of money. It was like a fever that swept through the entire region. But then came the problem. The Federal Reserve, which is like the American Central Bank, began raising interest rates to control inflation. Suddenly, taking out a loan to buy a house became extremely expensive. Those families who dreamed of moving to Cape Coral simply couldn't afford it anymore. The government incentive programs, which helped many people buy their first home, also ended. The result? 8th place, Ocala. The middle-class dream is over. Ocala was one of the last affordable cities in Florida, but with the real estate boom, prices skyrocketed. Now, residents are leaving, and condos are neglected. The bubble burst, and what remains is abandonment and for sale signs everywhere. Let's understand what really happened here. Ocala was known as the perfect refuge for those who wanted to live in Florida without spending a fortune. Entire families moved there in search of tranquility, year-round sunshine, and above all, a cost of living that fit their budget. It was the kind of place where you could buy a house with a yard, raise your children in peace, and still have money left over at the end of the month. But then came the real estate frenzy. Outside investors began buying properties as if there were no tomorrow. Houses that cost $200,000 suddenly jumped to $300,000, $400,000. Rents doubled, tripled. Those who had lived there for years saw their own neighborhood transform into something unrecognizable. The problem is that salaries didn't keep up with all this madness. The people who worked in Ocala, teachers, nurses, shopkeepers, simply couldn't afford to live there anymore. It was as if the city had expelled its own residents. Families who had built their lives there for decades had to pack their bags and look for something cheaper elsewhere. And you know what happens when everyone leaves at the same time? The city becomes a ghost town. The condominiums that were hastily built to take advantage of the boom are now empty. The grass grows uncontrollably. The swimming pools have become dirty green puddles. The walls are peeling. Nobody takes care of anything because nobody lives there. The streets are full of for sale signs that nobody looks at. The few who remained live in a city that seems to be slowly dying. Shops have closed, services have disappeared, the community has fallen apart. The middle-class dream not only ended, it became a silent nightmare of empty streets and broken promises. But if you think Ocala was an extreme case, prepare yourself. The next city on our list shows that when nature turns against you, not all the money in the world can save you. 7th place, Naples, the retirement paradise crumbles. Naples has always been the destination for wealthy retirees, but now with taxes, insurance, and condo fees skyrocketing, many are fleeing to cheaper states. Sales have plummeted, and buildings have entire floors empty. The golden paradise has become a symbol of the crisis. Imagine the scene. Luxury condos overlooking the sea, impeccable golf courses, and marinas full of expensive yachts. This was the American dream that Naples, Florida, sold to thousands of retirees. For decades, this city was synonymous with a tranquil and sophisticated life under the sun. People who had worked their entire lives sold their homes in the northern United States and rushed to Naples in search of perfect beaches, pleasant weather year-round, and an exclusive community of successful people. But this dream is turning into a nightmare right before our eyes. What happened? The answer lies in the numbers that keep rising. Hurricane insurance, which used to be just another annual expense, now costs as much as a new car. That's right. Some people are paying over $20,000 a year just to protect their homes against storms. And it doesn't stop there. Condominium fees, which cover maintenance of common areas, security, and all those luxury amenities, have skyrocketed. Apartments that used to cost $1,000 a month now require $3,000, $4,000, even $5,000 a month. Add to that the property taxes, which have also soared, and you have a bill that not every retiree can afford, no matter how well they planned their retirement. The result? A silent but impressive exodus. Real estate agents say they receive calls every day from desperate owners wanting to sell quickly, even at a loss. For sale signs are multiplying on the city's elegant streets. Entire buildings, which previously had waiting lists, now display completely empty floors with lights off and balconies deserted. Local businesses are also feeling the impact. Upscale restaurants that used to be packed are now operating with half. In 6th place, Fort Myers, the city that never recovered. After Hurricane Ian, Fort Myers was unable to fully recover. Reconstruction and insurance costs became unsustainable. Many homeowners abandoned their properties, and investors disappeared. The city still bears the marks of the tragedy, and now of the crisis. Let's understand what really happened here. Fort Myers was known as a true tropical paradise in Florida, with its white sand beaches and enviable year-round climate. Families came from all over the country to build their dreams in this coastal city, but everything changed drastically in September 2022. Hurricane Ian arrived with a destructive force that no one expected. Winds of more than 240 kilometers per hour swept through the region, tearing off roofs, knocking down centuries-old trees, and destroying entire houses as if they were made of cardboard. Seawater flooded the streets, rising more than 2 meters in some neighborhoods. It was a scene from a horror movie, but unfortunately it was real. When the waters receded and the wind stopped, residents were faced with a devastating scene. Thousands of homes were completely destroyed or severely damaged. Local businesses went bankrupt overnight. The losses were estimated in billions of dollars. But the worst was yet to come. Insurance companies began abandoning Florida en masse. Those that remained increased prices absurdly. We are talking about values that tripled or even quadrupled. For many families, paying for home insurance became more expensive than the mortgage payment itself. Imagine the situation. You've already lost everything in the hurricane and still have to pay a fortune just to protect yourself from the next disaster. Homeowners were trapped in a true financial nightmare. Rebuilding from scratch required hundreds of thousands of dollars that they simply didn't have. Banks didn't want to lend money to high-risk areas. And selling? Impossible. Who would buy a destroyed house in a hurricane zone with extremely expensive insurance? Gradually, Fort Myers began to transform into a ghost town. Entire streets were abandoned, with empty houses and properties deteriorating in the sun. For sale signs appeared everywhere, but no one bought. Local businesses collapsed. After all, without residents, there are no customers. Schools closed due to a lack of students. Restaurants that were once famous tourist attractions had to close their doors permanently. Real estate investors, who once saw Fort Myers as a gold mine, fled. The real estate market plummeted alarmingly. Houses that were worth $500,000 now can't find buyers for even half that price. The city entered a spiral of economic decline that seems to have no end. Today, Fort Myers is a sad example of what can happen when a community is hit by a natural disaster and does not receive the necessary support to recover. The physical marks of the hurricane are still everywhere: abandoned buildings, damaged structures, entire empty neighborhoods. But the emotional and economic scars are even deeper. But if you think Fort Myers had serious problems, wait until you meet the next city on our list. There, the situation is so critical that even the local government has publicly admitted that there may be no future for it. What could have happened in that place? 5th place. West Palm Beach, luxury without buyers. West Palm Beach was the heart of the luxury real estate boom. But the new condos are empty and signs of foreclosure have reappeared on the streets. The city center remains beautiful. But behind the facades, there is a silent financial collapse. Imagine arriving in a city where everything seems perfect at first glance. Modern buildings gleaming under the Florida sun, palm trees swaying in the wind, designer shops occupying every corner. It sounds like the American dream, doesn't it? But the reality hidden behind all this beauty is chilling. West Palm Beach has become the playground of millionaires in recent years. Construction companies bet everything on this region, erecting luxurious residential towers one after another. Apartments with ocean views, infinity pools on the terraces, gyms equipped with state-of-the-art technology. Everything designed to attract the rich and famous. The problem? Nobody is buying. These ridiculously expensive buildings, which should be packed with wealthy residents, are practically deserted. Entire floors without a living soul. The lights remain off night after night. It's as if the city built a movie set but forgot to hire the actors. And it doesn't stop there. Those foreclosure signs, which in Portuguese means mortgage foreclosure, when the bank takes back the house because the owner couldn't pay, are popping up everywhere. Houses and apartments. 4th place. Jacksonville. Uncontrolled growth. Jacksonville grew too fast. The construction of new condominiums exploded, but demand didn't keep up. With the rise in crime and the cost of living, people are moving away. Newly opened buildings are full of for sale signs but no buyers. And you know what's worse? Many of these buyers who invested heavily in the city are now stuck. They survived in the hope of appreciation, but the market has turned upside down. Apartments that cost a fortune a few years ago now barely attract interest. It's like watching a house of cards collapse in slow motion. The situation on the streets tells an even harsher story. Entire neighborhoods that promised modernity now seem abandoned. Shops closing, businesses with locked doors, and that feeling of emptiness that makes anyone uncomfortable. Families who dreamed of putting down roots there are now packing their bags, seeking refuge in safer and more accessible places. The numbers don't lie. The crime rate has skyrocketed in recent years, making Jacksonville headline news for all the wrong reasons. Robberies, thefts, and violence have become part of the routine, and this scares away both residents and investors. Who wants to buy a house in an area where they don't feel safe going out at night? And there's more. The basic cost of living has exploded. Supermarket, gasoline, electricity bills, everything has gone up beyond what salaries can keep up with. The result? People simply can no longer live there without severely straining their budgets. And when surviving becomes a burden, the choice is clear: leave. Builders now look at their recently completed projects with despair. They invested millions, believed in the boom, but now face huge losses. Empty buildings, unsold units, and a bitter feeling that they bet on the wrong horse. Jacksonville has become a symbol of how growing too fast without planning can destroy a city. But wait, because if you think Jacksonville is doing badly, you need to see what's happening in our third place. There, the situation is so chaotic that even investors from outside the country are fleeing. What could have turned that city into a real estate nightmare? In third place, Tampa. From boom to bankruptcy, Tampa was one of Florida's most promising economies. But what went up too fast fell even faster. The real estate market collapsed, and homeowners are desperately cutting prices. Locals call it the silent bubble, but now it's burst. Let's understand what really happened in this seemingly invincible city. Tampa lived a perfect American dream. Companies arriving, jobs emerging, construction everywhere. People believed that investing in real estate there guaranteed easy profits. Houses and apartments were sold before they were even finished. Property prices rose relentlessly, month after month, and everyone wanted a piece of the pie. But then came the problem. When everyone thinks something is only going to go up, it's a sign of danger. Prices got so high that ordinary families could no longer afford anything. Young professionals, local workers, everyone was being pushed out. Only investors were left speculating, buying to resell at a higher price. Until the tables turned. Suddenly, nobody wanted to pay those absurd prices anymore. Sales stalled. Properties began to pile up on the shelves. Owners panicked. Those who paid too much are now stuck, unable to sell, paying exorbitant installments for something that is worth much less. The streets that were full of sold signs now display for sale everywhere. Entire condominiums are empty. Construction projects are halted. Stores are closing. The promise of prosperity has turned into a financial nightmare for thousands of people. Tampa has become the perfect example of how an economy can collapse when it is based solely on speculation. And the worst part is, many experts say that rock bottom hasn't been reached yet. Prices continue to fall and no one knows when they will stabilize. The city that was once an investor's paradise has become a minefield of losses. But Tampa is not alone in this free fall. There is another city in Florida facing an even more dramatic situation, where the economic collapse has been accompanied by something no one expected. Secondly, Orlando. The magical dream is over. Orlando, the city of magic and theme parks, now faces a grim reality. Condominium prices have risen almost 80% in 3 years and are now plummeting. Airbnb investors are going bankrupt, families are going into debt, and new buildings are completely empty. What was once an enchanting dream has turned into an economic nightmare. But how did this happen? Let's understand this story from the beginning. During the pandemic, Orlando became a dream destination for investors worldwide. Everyone wanted a piece of this sunny Florida city. Thousands of Brazilians, Europeans, and Americans bought apartments thinking about one thing: renting them to tourists on Airbnb and making easy money. After all, who doesn't want to visit Disney, Universal, and SeaWorld? The problem is that everyone had the same idea at the same time. Construction companies erected gigantic buildings at record speed. Entire neighborhoods sprang up practically overnight. There were apartments everywhere, and the prices, they kept rising. A property that was worth $200,000 in 2020 was worth $350,000 in 2023. It seemed like the perfect deal. But then reality hit. With so many apartments available for rent, the competition became brutal. Daily rates plummeted. That investor who bought thinking they would earn $3,000 a month discovered that they can barely cover the condominium expenses, which are extremely high. Swimming pools, gyms, 24-hour security, all of that is expensive. And there's more. Interest rates have risen sharply. Those who bought with financing are now paying enormous installments. Many people can no longer afford the property and are desperately trying to sell. The result? Prices fell quickly, and even so, the apartments don't sell. It's a frightening, vicious cycle. Today, you walk past new and luxurious condominiums in Orlando and see something disturbing. Entire buildings practically empty, with only a few lights on. These are the so-called ghost buildings. Investors trapped, unable to sell or rent. Orlando's dream has turned into a silent nightmare. But wait until you find out what's happening in the next city on our list. There, the situation is even more shocking and involves a collapse that no one expected. First on the list, Miami, the collapse of the luxury empire. At the top of the list is Miami, the epicenter of the crisis. Million-dollar condos without buyers, absurd maintenance fees, and insurance that has doubled in price. The luxury market has completely collapsed, and even foreign investors are jumping ship. Miami, the showcase of American wealth, is now a portrait of decay. But what is really happening behind the scenes in this city that was once the dream destination for millions? Let's delve deep into this story that few are telling. Imagine waking up in the morning in a penthouse apartment overlooking the sea, the kind of place you see in luxury magazines. Now imagine receiving a condominium bill of $15,000 a month. Yes, you read that right. $15,000 just to keep the lights on in the common areas, pay security guards, and take care of the infinity pool that seems to melt into the horizon. This is the new normal in Miami, and it's even breaking millionaires. The problem began when hurricane insurance prices skyrocketed. Companies simply abandoned the state of Florida, leaving homeowners at the mercy of last resort insurers that charge stratospheric amounts. We're talking about increases of 200–300% in just 2 years. An apartment that used to cost $10,000 to insure now costs $30,000. And guess who pays this bill? The homeowners, who are already suffocated by condominium fees that keep rising. Meanwhile, buyers simply evaporated. Those international investors who were pouring millions into Miami's real estate market, Russians, Chinese, Brazilians, Venezuelans, all backed down. Global economic instability, changes in immigration laws, and the region's own climate risk made these investors think twice before burying fortunes in glass towers by the sea. And there's more. Real estate speculation created a gigantic bubble that is now bursting in everyone's face. Construction companies erected dozens of luxury skyscrapers betting that demand would be endless. It wasn't. Today, entire buildings are practically empty, with apartments costing $5, $10, $20 million with no one interested. The few who buy try to negotiate brutal discounts, and even then many give up halfway through. The stark truth is that Miami has become a house of cards built on sand. Literally. Rising sea levels, increasingly frequent floods, and infrastructure that doesn't keep up with growth are showing that this tropical paradise has an expiration date. And when the market realizes this, the value plummets. These 10 cities represent the collapse of a model that seemed infallible, that of eternal prosperity. But the truth is that the Florida dream was built on a fragile foundation: easy credit, speculation, and unrealistic promises. Now the sandcastle is crumbling, and what is happening in these markets may be the first sign of a new national crisis. Do you believe this crisis will spread to other states in the United States? Leave your opinion in the comments. And if you want to understand the American economic collapse clearly and unfiltered, subscribe now to the channel United States in Crisis. Because what is crumbling in Florida may only be the beginning.